Hello, and welcome to another FAQ Monday. I'm your host, Fluff, and if you have a question, feel free to leave them on down below or going over to my Ask FM account thing, and we'll get you squared away. Maybe. Probably. Dad needs some questions. Give me some questions, guys. You see this glass? You see that this isn't a glass, this is a cup. But this nice coffee mug is filled with tears. My tears. I drink my own tears. From not having enough questions. Don't make me drink my tears forever, guys. First question! Audio interfaces. Do the expensive ones really sound that much better? That depends on what you define as expensive. And this is a very deep subject with audio interfaces. I will point out that the inexpensive interfaces, you know, the Personases and the Focusrites of the world have never been better. Interface and audio or digital to audio or digital to analog conversion has never been better than it is today. So the converters, which is really what you're paying for when you're buying an audio interface, they're really, really good. Even in the base model stuff, they are worlds better than they were, let's say, a decade ago. You would notice a huge difference. As the price point in audio interfaces goes up, you get several things. You get bells and whistles, you get build quality, you get component quality, which also does things like lower the noise floor of the incoming signal, and so on and so forth. And you can get into D-sub connectors and preamps and all sorts of stuff. It's a deep well, but in short, yes. Like, for example, upgrading to a Universal Audio Apollo interface, for me, there was a huge difference between that and the Focusrite Claret that I had before it, the $700 interface, which was a fantastic interface and it served me well. But even just playing music back through Spotify, there was a huge difference. So, you know, is that worth the $1,200 price difference? That's up to you to decide. But, you know, don't ever be fooled into thinking that your base model $100 interface isn't good enough, because I guarantee you it is, and you are just as capable of making music with that as you are the super expensive stuff. So I would not stress that at all. How do you recommend going about getting an endorsement deal with a company? This is another question I get quite often, and I posted a video on this channel about a year or two ago, I think, about the ins and outs of getting an endorsement. But in short, an endorsement is a business deal. It's a transaction. No company is giving endorsements for charity just because they think you're a nice person. You are offering them something, whether it be a huge audience, visibility on a YouTube channel, or you're playing in front of 10,000 people every night. There's different levels of endorsement, but the key takeaway that I can tell you about how to get an endorsement is use whatever you want to be endorsed with before you actually ask for an endorsement. I've been the artist rep for 4 companies now. Positive Grid, Evertune, Two Notes Audio Engineering, and now Joey Sturgis Tones. And with the power of social media, it's kind of turned the tables on the companies, whereas before, for decades prior to the 2000s, it was always the companies were in this high and mighty place, and if they chose you to be endorsed, then that was the only avenue to really get endorsed or a deal or supported by a brand. Now with social media, you know, you can go to them and go, hey, look what I'm doing, and you can raise your own awareness and crowd without their help, and then they will come to you. What I notice most is people who don't already use, let's say, for example, I am with Balaguer Guitars. It's like me going to Ibanez and going, hey, I will play your guitars if you give me an endorsement. Like, I don't play Ibanez guitars and currently, so that doesn't really make any sense. As a person who can give endorsements, I don't want to see that. If you're already using and have done work with JSD plugins, that's a huge plus for me, because I know you like the product and you are willing to pay for it before you even get a deal. So yeah, that just be nice. Don't be a jerk. That's the other key takeaway from getting an endorsement. Do you think far from now digital modeling amps could take the place of higher value tube amps? I think that whole thing is going to stay how it is. They're just going to continue to coexist. The only way I ever see tube amps actually going away is if companies can't get the supplies to make them. And it's as simple as that. If no one can produce a vacuum tube, then tube amps will go away, and modelers will absolutely replace tube amps just out of necessity. But until that happens, there will always be people like me who, if given a choice, will take the tube amp 9 times out of 10. I am willing to haul it around the country. I am willing to try to lug it up a 6-foot tall stage. Like that's the price I pay, but I can choose to pay that price versus throwing my Helix in an overhead compartment and only having the Helix as my entire rig. Like that's the choice and the burden I bear, but it's mine to bear. So I think the analog and digital amp thing will continue just to coexist for the foreseeable future, for decades. We have decades until tube amps not being a thing is even a possibility. Thoughts on Gojira? I absolutely love Gojira. I think that in a decade, they will be looked back on as the pioneers of where metal is going. And I mean that because they write in such a forward-thinking way. Honestly, Gojira write the best metal riffs of anybody. And you can quote me on that. You cannot mess with a Gojira riff. You can't. There's a lot of equals, but is there anyone better than Gojira in riff writing? Nope. I'll wait. You can try to find someone. Go get your best riff writing band and bring them up to Gojira. They're gonna lose every single time. It's just my opinion, but I think Gojira, pound for pound, are probably one of the best metal bands of all time. And now, Fluff reads a tweet. What do you call an alligator that starts crap on Instagram? An instigator. My suggestion to you this week is to check out this incredible Pink Floyd cover from Boba Flex. This band is, they're a hardworking touring band. These guys are road dogs, and it sounds like it as well when you hear this cover of Pink Floyd's Hey You. It's so spot on, and normally I'm not a fan of covers of Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin, the Beatles. I don't even want to hear covers of those bands. But this is amazing. It's phenomenally well done, and visually they pay a huge tribute to the Pompeii movie that Pink Floyd made in the early 70s. Super, super cool. I thought you guys would enjoy it. It's a great cover. All the Pokemon links down below in the description. You've been wonderful. I've been Fluff. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.